So, the first 8 characters weren't enough. You want to learn about all the characters in Mortal Kombat 1. Well, don't worry, you little content whores. I've got exactly what you're looking for. Welcome to part 2 of my Every Mortal Kombat 1 Character Explained series. If you haven't yet, make sure you check out the first part of this series to learn the ins and outs of this game's first batch of characters. And now, let's get into it. First up, we've got Li Mei, who may seem cold and tough on the outside, but on the inside, she's really just a silly, goofy girl with a love for arts and crafts and fireworks. Yeah, she's always scowling, but can you blame her? Everybody's always fucking with her lanterns. I made this one to commemorate my mother, who recently passed, and I said don't touch it! And you know what? I'm sick of it. You shouldn't let everybody get you down, Li Mei. You know why? Because you're a firework. Go on, show them how your colors burst. Make them go, oh my god, what? Hey, by the way, Sub-Zero, why is your large intestine attached to your skull? Li Mei is a perfect testament to just how important it is to make a character feel good. Li Mei does like 5 things. She's got like no moves. She's got a dash, 2 anti-airs, a fireball, and a spinning kick she can do in the air. That is genuinely all she does. She is astoundingly bare bones, and in any other instance, she would be a super lame character. Especially when you put her beside characters like Smoke, Katana, and Reptile, who all feel like they have tons of tools at their disposal. But you know what? Even though she only does 5 things, she just feels so good doing them. She's just fun. I don't know if it's because of her animations or her firework gimmick or what, but she just feels good. The biggest issue with Li Mei is an issue a lot of the cast has, and it's that she just looks so fucking dull. So many characters in the roster just look like regular people walked into a party city and just threw something on. She almost looks like a different skin from Alina. She's without a doubt the most boring looking character in the roster, which is probably why they gave her such a flashy gimmick. Li Mei's first special is Nova Blast, in which she shoots a fireball at the opponent. Air Nova Blast? Yeah, Sky Lantern is an anti-air, which causes Li Mei to set a lantern into the sky, which gently floats across the screen, and then fucks up anything it touches. Cheesy Lion is a flip kick with a whole lot of pizzazz. Chain Reaction is probably the most satisfying dash attack in the entire game, as Li Mei dashes forward, sending a flying knee directly into the opponent's testicles, and then just absolutely going to town on them. All I'm saying is there aren't gonna be a whole lot of Lin Kuei left in the next generation if Li Mei has anything to say about it. And finally, Flipping Heel Kick is an aerial attack that delivers 2 overhead kicks to the opponent. Li Mei feels great, and it's probably mostly due to her animations. She doesn't just throw a fireball at the opponent, she throws a firework. She doesn't just do a flip kick, she summons a Chinese lion to attack her opponent. Sure, she doesn't have a ton of tools at her disposal, but the ones she does have all feed into each other in such a satisfying way. If you've ever wanted to play a character that feels like a Katy Perry music video, then Li Mei just might be your girl. Up next is Keanu Reeves from the second half of the 3rd Matrix movie. And if you don't believe me, check out this article explaining that Ed Boon originally wanted to cast Keanu Reeves as Kenshi for this game. And Kenshi's like the coolest character in Mortal Kombat history. Like, that's just a fact. That's just an indisputable fact. He's a blind swordsman who summons a ghost clone to help him slice people. The only thing that would have made Kenshi cooler is if he and his clone did a synchronized dance routine after every fight. And you know what? He almost sort of does. And the best part is, Kenshi's probably the coolest he's ever been in this game, because now, he's just a full-on certified stand user. What's better than kicking somebody's ass? Kicking somebody's ass with a buddy. His first ability is Ancestral Guard, in which Kenshi sprints towards the opponent and slashes at them. If you hold this move down, you can make Kenshi continue running into the opponent, which is unfortunately made way funnier by the fact that he's blind. Soul Charge is Kenshi's attempt at doing a synchronized dance move, in which he sends out his spirit to rock his opponent with a saucy little flamenco pose. Look at it. It's like Kenshi and Sub-Zero were dancing too much and his clone came in like a sassy senorita to break it up. Hands off, chump! Demon Drop is a ranged overhead attack that can be enhanced to bounce the opponent into the air. Rising Kama is another example of Kenshi's spirit being an absolute bro. Yo, you want an overhead? Done. You want this dude in the air? How do you want it? I can hook you up with 2 different flavors. Anything you need, bro, I got you. Next up is Force Push, which is low-key one of Kenshi's coolest looking abilities, but also exposes him as being an absolute fucking hypocrite. Kenshi charges up a ball of his tormented ancestors, and then blasts it at his opponent. But also, why is Mr. My sword is an ancient relic that's been in my family for generations? Also, Mr. Hey guys, you don't mind if I toss you like a fastball at this guy, do ya? If I had a sword containing generations of my ancestors, the last thing I would do is throw those ancestors at somebody. Or yoink them out of their home to come help me win a street fight. Speaking of which, Kenshi's final ability is Summon Ancestor, and it is absolutely his coolest one. This is a stance change in which Kenshi summons his spirit clone to fight alongside him. Each of the action buttons causes the clone to attack with Kenshi, which makes synchronizing the two attacks super fun and super satisfying. The ghost sorta lags behind Kenshi a bit, and has some attacks that work opposite to his to really mix up the opponent, like Soaring Sento, which causes Kenshi to deliver a mid-attack, but Sento to deliver an overhead. He also has Teamwork, which lets you watch something just beautiful. This move single-handedly fulfills the Kenshi power fantasy. It just feels so sick working together with your clone to fuck a guy up. But not as sick as the enhanced version of this attack, which turns it into a ranged move, and God, I just love it so much. Kenshi is incredible. If I somehow haven't sold you on him yet, then I think you might be in the wrong store. This is his gimmick at its fullest potential, and finally being able to summon his clone to fight alongside you is everything a Kenshi fan could ever want. He's tricky and requires a bit of micromanaging, but that's what makes playing him so satisfying. He's a complicated character without feeling too intimidating. Besides, if you ever get too uncomfortable out there, you'll always know that Sento has your back. Up next is everybody's favorite knife-dispensing goblin president, Baraka. Baraka's always been a fan favorite, simply because he looks fucking awesome. Yeah, people love his moveset and stuff, but honestly, NetherRealm could have given him 2 special abilities and 0 combos and people would still want to play him. I feel like anytime somebody new is getting into Mortal Kombat, Baraka's the first character they want to try. In a roster full of characters who look nearly identical to each other, who are you gonna choose first? A bunch of boring, regular-looking people in cosplay, or the fucking goblin shark with swords coming out of his tibias? Don't even act like that's a hard choice. What, are you really gonna waste your time deciding whether or not you want to play as Li Mei or gender swap to Li Mei? No. You're gonna pick the guy with teeth coming out of his goddamn chest. He just looks great. Alright, what else is there to say about him? He looks ready to go eat Nemo's mom. Baraka's first move is Bleeding Blade, which is a high projectile. The enhanced version of this move sticks inside of the opponent, inflicting damage over time. Blade Sparks is an aerial attack, in which Baraka shoots the knives out of his forearms with the force of a fucking shotgun blast at anyone below him. The enhanced version of this attack causes the opponent to stagger briefly, allowing you to get follow-up attacks in. Stab Stab doesn't do either of those things, but instead slashes at the opponent on either side. This move is a great keep away and anti-air, because nobody wants to be jumping into a fucking blender like this. Oh wait, never mind, it does stab if it catches a mid-air opponent. My bad, Mr. President, I'm sorry I ever doubted you. Look, I know the Baraka Obama jokes are old, but I wasn't making content when he was president, alright? Let me catch up. This move can also be enhanced to inflict damage over time. Baraka Barrage is like exactly what it's advertised as. Just a barrage of Baraka. Fair enough. Death Spin turns Baraka into Kano if Kano had a bunch of katanas glued to his body, and also acts as a great anti-air. And finally, Chop Chop is another flailing attack like Baraka Barrage, only this one can be enhanced twice for massive damage. I've always liked the look and concept of Baraka, but he's never really clicked for me gameplay-wise. That is, until this game. I feel like Baraka's just got so many moves now, and they all make him feel so dangerous. He has 2 great anti-airs, 2 moves that inflict damage over time, and it just makes your opponent afraid to get near you. The air isn't safe, the ground isn't safe, nowhere is safe, which is exactly how you should feel going up against this literal tooth factory. Up next is Mr. Tall, Dark, and 300 pounds of I'm gonna kick your ass, who, despite being one of my favorite characters in the game, I know I will never be good with. At least not to his fullest potential. Remember when I said that Kenshi was complicated? That's like a reasonable amount of complexity for me. I can figure out Kenshi. All this time bullshit though? Absolutely not. Geras requires so much planning, So much time management. What do I look like, a fucking school counselor? I'm a content creator 2 years out of college. You think I know how to manage my fucking time? And it's not that I think his time gimmicks are like bad game design or anything. I just know my limits. So, if I don't like his gimmick, why is he one of my favorite characters? Because he's absolutely fucking brutal. Geras feels like they mixed Zillion from League of Legends with Dave Bautista. He feels like a pro wrestler whose tag team partner is his future self. Geras' first ability is Time Stop, which is essentially a command grab that can be blocked. Enhance this move though, and Geras will stun the opponent, allowing you to combo on them completely regardless of their consent. This move will put them in whatever state your combo would. So if you uppercut them while frozen, they'll launch into the air when the effect wears off. History Lesson is a mid-range grab that teaches your opponent a fucking lesson in something. Hey, what was that supposed to teach me? Don't fuck with Geras? That didn't teach me dick about history. Oh well, good thing there's a follow-up exam. These moves both deal increased damage when throwing the opponent out of a corner. So, just gotta get you into the corner here. Jesus Christ, this guy is intense. Alright, got you in the corner, now I just... Oh my god. Geras' next attack is Redo. This is where Geras starts getting kinda nuts. He marks his current position and will return to it after a certain amount of time. He also ignores any damage from the next hit the opponent lands on him. The enhanced version of this move briefly stops time. After, Geras will summon a clone of himself that'll mimic the inputs you do during the time stop. So basically, you have to program the clone to do something during that brief window. Yeah, okay, sure, I'm totally gonna learn how to do that. This is some Guilty Gear level of complexity right here. Alright, this is fucking nuts. Countdown summons an hourglass above Geras and charges 1 stack of Countdown. At 3 stacks, Geras can perform Inevitable, which instantly freezes the opponent and teleports Geras to their location. The enhanced version of this move causes Geras to revert back to wherever he was 3 seconds ago and regain the life he lost since. Denial is a mid-attack that does this. I don't know, what is this, like a sneeze or something? Sandstorm is Geras' ranged option that launches the opponent into the air on contact. And finally, Enhanced Sandstorm summons an hourglass that counts down and eventually creates a delayed sandstorm. Geras is a lot like Rain for me, where no matter how cool he is, no matter how much fun I'm having playing him, I'll always know that I'll never truly use him to his fullest potential. He's just a lot. But I am glad that he's in the game. I love the fact that Mortal Kombat is starting to introduce more varied and complex mechanics into their games. Besides, if I ever really want to learn Geras, I'm sure he'll give me a lesson. Up next is Shang Tsung, who's looking great for his age. Who's looking awful for his... who's looking Sub-Zero for his age. Shang Tsung is a stance-changing character similar to Kenshi, except unlike Kenshi, he's not very fun. Or maybe he is. I don't know. Is this a good Shang Tsung representation? Does this fulfill the Shang Tsung power fantasy? I'm genuinely asking. There are a lot of people who love playing Shang Tsung. I will just never be one of them. His gimmicks just don't do it for me. Characters like Kenshi, Smoke, and Geras are my favorite because I like getting up close and personal with my opponent. I want to play a character that feels brutal, relentless, not some old dude throwing skulls from halfway across the screen or changing into his opponent's character because he regrets picking Shang Tsung. That's what I don't get about his gimmick. If I wanted to play Sub-Zero, I would have picked Sub-Zero. Like, why did I pick Shang Tsung just to play somebody else? Shang Tsung is essentially 2 characters in one in this game, because his old form and his young form both have different move lists. He can also change forms at will without having to spend any meter or anything, and he can even do it mid-combo or mid-special move, which is admittedly really cool. Unfortunately, I don't like either move list. Starting with his young form, his first ability is Straight Skull, which can be turned into double or triple skull without spending any meter, just depends on how much you want to commit to this move. Spinning Spikes is essentially a Baraka attack, which has Shang Tsung flail towards the opponent with a series of slashes. Bed of Spikes is a low attack that looks really bad for some reason. It causes a bunch of spikes to shoot up out of the ground. This is a good escape move since it also causes Shang Tsung to do a backflip away from the opponent. Now onto his old form. Ground Skull causes skulls to fire out of the ground and bounce your opponent into the air. This move can also be performed in the air, but the skull Shang Tsung fires into the ground doesn't actually hit the opponent. Vicinity Slash is a big slash attack that knocks the opponent away from Shang Tsung. Injection is a blockable grab that injects the opponent with something, and then tosses them far away from you. And finally, of course, Shang Tsung can also morph into whichever opponent he's currently fighting with no cooldowns. In all honesty, I do get the appeal of this character. All of his moves either knock the opponent away from him or pull them closer, so you can have complete control of where your opponent is. On top of that, I can see how it'd be fun to run up against an opponent online and be like, yo, this guy sucks with Sub-Zero, let me show him how it's done. So in a sense, Shang Tsung is the ultimate troll character. But he's just not for me. I am genuinely curious, though, how you Shang Tsung fans feel about him. Do you guys like his new stance switching mechanic, or do you find it an extra hurdle to go through just to do all of his moves? Let me know in the comments below. Up next is General Shao, coming in with a neck thick enough to stop a sniper round. And let me tell you, this dude feels good. And he knows he feels good. Look at him just pumping that arm. What is this? What are you doing, Shao? What's going on here? Everyone always clowned on Shao Kahn in MK11 because he wasn't very good. And apparently, he's not very good in this game either. But holy shit, does he feel great to play. He's another stance-changing character whose stances synergize with each other in a super satisfying way. He just feels so cinematic. Watching him go off on somebody almost feels like you're just watching one long animation. Usually, in past games, Shao Kahn would come packing an axe, a spear, and a hammer. But I guess he must have earned that spear and the hammer when he became a Kahn, because in this game, he's only got the axe. And on the surface, that kinda sucks. What are we doing giving this guy less weapons? But in practice, NetherRealm honing in on one weapon and really fleshing out its playstyle makes him feel way more versatile than he ever has. General Shao's two stances are Axe and No Axe, each with their own special abilities. His first ability is Dark Energy, which enhances the damage of Axe attacks for a short time. Devastator is a super fast high knee attack that kicks the opponent into the air before slamming them back down. Deathquake is a super slow low attack that hits from full screen. And finally, Power Strike is an overhead attack in which General Shao slams his axe into the ground and leaves it there, transitioning to his second stance. In this stance, Devastator becomes Classic Kahn, dealing less damage but leaving the opponent vulnerable for follow-up attacks. His next attack is Reverse Tree Chopper, and this is where Shao really starts to get cinematic. This is a throw attack that can only be activated near your axe. Shao grabs the opponent and throws them onto the axe before picking it back up again. I know this isn't like a revolutionary ability or anything, but when I first saw him do this in one of the MK1 trailers, my mind was blown. That's so sick! You can bury the axe into the ground, fire off a combo, and then throw your opponent onto the axe. I just love how the axe becomes a part of the environment that you can still interact with. I eat that shit up. He can also do Tree Chopper, which causes him to grab the axe out of the ground and swing it at the opponent. And finally, Axequake is a full-screen low attack that can be performed from anywhere. I love the synergy between General Shao's two stances. His axe form is super powerful but slow, and his no axe form is full of abilities that transition him back into his axe form. You feel like an action movie villain as you weave between the two stances, and it just feels great. If this is how good General Shao feels, I can't wait to see what Shao Kahn feels like in the sequel. Up next, we've got Evil Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender. This guy looks like the manager of a German sex club. Either that or like a Yu-Gi-Oh villain. Reiko's a tough guy, in case you couldn't tell from all of his leather straps and eyeliner. Aside from Geras, he's the closest thing this game has to a grappler. Or a Kano, really. He's also got like two of the most grisly fatalities in the entire game, and they're low-key two of my favorites. If you looked at his fatalities and design, you'd think Reiko was a vicious, unstoppable menace who'd prefer to take out his opponent brutally rather than quickly. But the problem is, none of that really translates to his actual attacks. I saw Reiko's fatalities before I tried out his gameplay, and I was stoked to see just how savage this guy would feel. And I mean, he's certainly aggressive, and he's very fun, but he's missing that savage flair found in his fatalities. He's just got a bunch of wrestling moves, which combined with his WWE-ass outfit, honestly makes him seem a little more cringy than badass. His first move is a counter that stops high attacks and follows up with a clothesline. Pale Rider is a command grab that just does another wrestling move. Assassin Throwing Stars is a ranged attack that has Reiko throw a handful of throwing stars at the opponent. And if you enhance this move, he'll throw a fucking ton of them. Charging Pain causes Reiko to break into a full-on sprint, ending the move in a sliding kick that hits low. If you hold up while doing this move, Reiko will end the run in a flying knee that sets the opponent up for follow-up attacks. This move is sweet. I love sprinting attacks in fighting games. This move also does a lot towards giving Reiko that aggressive killer instinct that I'm looking for, ensuring that your opponent is never too far if you don't want him to be. And finally, Tactical Takedown is a mid-attack that has Reiko throw his opponent to the ground and bash their face in. Kind of. He really just punches them a bit. It's honestly a lot softer than I'm making it sound. And that's the thing. Reiko's super fun, he's just missing a certain flair. Outside of his fatalities, there's nothing really memorable about him. Sure, he has a few grabs, but none of them are as brutal or as satisfying as any of Geras's. And that's not what I want out of Reiko. I don't want to say, yeah, he's like Geras, only less brutal. I want Reiko to be the benchmark from which I measure brutality. But anyway, he's fun. He feels like Baby's first Rushdown character. His kit's fun to mess around with, but there's nothing in it that really makes him stand out from any other Rushdown character. I feel the same about him as I do with Li Mei. He's a fun addition, but if he was a DLC character, he'd be a ripoff. Sindel? More like sit down. On my face. Sindel's a baddie. No one can deny it. I mean, just look at that hair. She looks like a Long Island Italian mob wife. This woman can hair my balls any day she'd like. Remember how I talked about how much I hated Tanya in the last video? I think I might hate Sindel even more. Sindel is just so goddamn lame in this game. It's kind of infuriating. In previous games, she had a bunch of different grabs and flips and screeches that gave her total control over the battlefield. Now she's got all these cameo buffs and debuffs, and it's like, what are we doing here? Where are her actual attacks? First up, she's got low hairball and hairball. Super standard stuff, hardly worth mentioning. Then she has Scream, which is good. This is some classic Sindel shit. This move damages and briefly stuns the opponent, giving you a chance to land follow-up attacks. Then she has Levitate, which doesn't do dick. Other than air hairball, Sindel doesn't have any moves that synergize with this one. It just lets her move back and forth in the air. Because why? Because she does it in the previous games? I get that it's just for mobility and messing up your opponent's rhythm, but don't give her a levitate and then no aerial attacks. It's the same thing as with Tanya and her teleport. Feels like they're just half-assedly giving Sindel her classic stuff without any regard to synergy. These next two moves are where Sindel gets real lame. Inspire is a buff that causes Sindel's cameo meter to recharge at an incredibly fast rate, and admittedly, that's fairly cool. Especially for players who are able to take full advantage of the cameo system and know how to synergize well with their cameo fighters. The enhanced version will also automatically counter the opponent's next combo breaker. Queen's Command is a debuff in which Sindel cancels the opponent's cameo. This move can only be used when the opponent's cameo is already out, and the enhanced version steals the opponent's cameo, allowing Sindel to use it herself. What a fucking niche ability. First off, most people use their cameos woven in between combo strings, so good luck even firing this move off in time. Second, Sindel has 7 abilities, which sounds like a lot, until you realize that 2 of them are fireballs, 1 of them is a levitate, and 2 of them are debuffs. That means Sindel actually only has 2 abilities that aren't just regular fireballs or buffs. What the hell, guys? I thought this was Mortal Kombat, not Mortal Stop Using Your Cameo, please. Her final and second attack is Cartwheel, which is an overhead, and lame. This sucks. This is the second worst reimagining of a character in the entire game. What happened to her grabs? What happened to her aerial control? I get that she's meant to be more of a zoning sorceress now, but she's also meant to be fun. Anyway, that's enough of my ranting. Play Sindel if you find Katana to be too much fun. And that is part 2 of every Mortal Kombat character brutally explained. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like and a comment below. It really helps out the channel and video a ton. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know if you'd like to see a part 3 to this video series. And I will see you guys next time.